I want to show you a picture of one of the most powerful things in the universe, secondary perhaps to God himself, but this is a picture of one of the most powerful things in the universe. Pretty weird looking, I guess. Here's another picture of the most powerful thing in the universe, barring God himself. The first picture has caused countless people to lose their lives through history, to suffer loss of livelihood, loss of life, commit suicide. Nations have gone to war over this thing. It's been a recipe for disaster in so many different ways. In contrast, the second picture has brought joy and fulfillment. Self-sacrifice has been spurred on by it. Blessing has come from it. Growth in individuals and communities and nations has arisen from this second picture. And it's funny how they can look so similar, but they have such radically different effects. Did you know that Jesus himself is actually compared to these? Or maybe perhaps better, it's to say that these things are in some ways a resemblance or a reflection of Jesus himself, because we are told that in the beginning was the Word. And both of these pictures are sound waves. They are the closest we can get to visualizing what happens in the air when words are spoken from one person to another. They are sound waves. But the two sound waves that I showed you are very, very different phrases. The first one says the words, "I hate you." The second one says the words, "I love you." And they look so similar on the screen, and yet their effects are so radically different from each other. And that is the power of one of the most powerful forces in the universe, the spoken word. The spoken word has always had power, always. From the very dawn of our reality, from the first recorded moment of our existence, when God created the world, he spoke and he said, "Let there be light." And so from the very first moment of creation, we have the understanding that words produce change and they create. And I do not think it is any coincidence that humans who are made in the image of God have also been given this capacity to create with their words. You know, God can wield the power of the spoken word to create, and on a smaller dimension, so can we. And in fact, this is what the writer of the Proverbs says. Proverbs 18:21, "The tongue has the power of life and death, and those who eat of it, or those who love it rather, will eat its fruit." So through our words, God wants us to continue the legacy that he started of creating through the words we speak, to continue to recreate life on planet Earth. And it's a thing of amazing power and amazing beauty. And so the writer again of the Proverbs says, "The tongue of the righteous is choice silver." You know, it is valuable, it is worth so much. And it brings life, he says in 16:24. Gracious words are a honeycomb, sweet to the soul and healing to the bones. It is a whole holistic benefit that comes from the power of rightly chosen words. It blesses our hearts, our inner world. It can even heal our outer world, our bodies. And even science is telling us these days of the power of positive words to bring good changes in people's bodies, even at a biochemical level. Amazing stuff. And so words can bring goodness and healing, creation, if you like. But the same power that can be used for creation can also be used for uncreation, destruction. And Proverbs dishes up a welter of images of how words can be used as agents of uncreation. In different places, they're described in different ways. They're described as weapons that can kill and pierce people. They're described as murderers lying in wait, in ambush to attack innocent travelers. They're described as agents of destruction. Proverbs 11:9, with their mouths the godless destroy their neighbors, but through knowledge the righteous escape. And the book of Proverbs is full, super chock full of insight into the power of words. And it describes two very different paths that words can take people down depending on how this power is used. Okay? So, how do we use this power well? Well, Proverbs would say, firstly, get your heart right. Get your heart right. Excuse me, just need a bit of a glass of water. Now, when Proverbs says, oh, golly, I bumped my glass of water. Okay, a bit of ham acting going on there. But the question is, now that my feet are surrounded by wet carpet, when I tripped or was bumped, the water came out. Why did the water come out? Not really a trick question, but a good one to ponder. Why did the water come out when my glass was bumped? And the reason that the water came out when my glass was bumped was because the water was in there to begin with. The water came out when it was bumped because it was already in the glass, right? And Proverbs makes the point very clear. We speak out of our hearts. We speak out of our inner world. The kind of words we speak has firstly very little to do with our mouths and our tongues and our control of the words flowing out our mouths, and everything to do with the condition of our hearts. Whatever is inside our inner world, if we are bumped by life, if we get annoyed or angry or someone says the wrong thing to us and immediately we have this knee-jerk reaction, we will say whatever is inside of us. So if you want to get your words right, don't look firstly at your lips, look at your heart. Look at what's inside here. Proverbs 12:23. The prudent keep their knowledge to themselves, but a fool's heart blurts out folly. A fool's heart blurts out folly. Why? Because the folly is already in there. And when he is bumped, it just comes out. Proverbs 16:23. The hearts of the wise make their mouths prudent, and their lips promote instruction. So the wise heart, when it is bumped, out comes good things from the mouth. Okay? The heart is where it starts, your inner world. And so Jesus backs this up, doesn't he? Matthew 15:18. But the things that come out of a person's mouth come from the heart. That's what he says. And in another place, Luke 6:45, a good man brings good things out of the good stored up in his heart. An evil man brings evil things out of the evil stored in his heart. For the mouth speaks what the heart is full of. You know? If you hate someone, if you detest them, if you find them annoying, if you're stirring the pot of anger inside your spirit towards them, then it will only take a little bump for these annoying, angry, unforgiving words to spill out. And so Jesus says, get your hearts right first. In the secret, hidden world of your soul, get that right. Pray for your enemies, he says. Forgive those who hurt you. Forgive from your heart, he says. And then, when you are bumped by life and something happens, out will come grace and forgiveness and kindness and forbearance. Why? Because they were in there to begin with. Okay? Firstly, get your heart right. Secondly, use your lips. So the lips do come into the story. You need to use your lips. And when I say lips, you probably are thinking words that we speak. Actually, no. Because words have a dual function. They're amazing things. It is only half of what they do, this talking stuff. The other half is they stop us from talking. Have you ever seen in the movies when a thief is in a museum or a high income house, and suddenly he or she triggers the alarm, and all the doors and safety security panels come floating down quickly, and the doors come locking? That's a wonderful image, I think, of what the lips are supposed to do in times when we need them to be a protection for us. Did you realize that God has given us 4 tiny but very important membranes in our body? And they are protection devices for the heart. The first 2 are our eyelids, right? When we are looking at things which we should not be looking at because they are corroding our heart, God has given us eyelids to close our eyes to protect our hearts. They are a protection for our own inner world. But God has given us another 2 membranes, if you like, which are a protection for other people's hearts, and they are our lips. They keep us from wounding the hearts of others. And in certain moments, the Proverbs tells us, we need to slam down these protection devices. So we do not say things. Lips are the bouncers at the club door. They are the firewall on your computer. They are the gates on your property. They are the sluice gates on your dam. They give passage out, yes, but they also refuse passage out when it is not appropriate. Proverbs 14:3. A fool's mouth lashes out with pride, but the lips of the wise protect them. And there are at least as many Proverbs talking about the need we have to stop talking as there are the right moments when we should be talking. So when do these lips, these protection devices, need to stay shut? Well, Proverbs says, firstly, when you're angry or annoyed. Showing restraint when you are angry and annoyed. Proverbs 11:12. Whoever derides their neighbor has no sense, but the one who has understanding holds their tongue. When me and Kelly, my boys, used to live in another house in a different part of Auckland, we used to have a neighbour who lived down the right of way, but behind us. And every Thursday night, I think it was, we would hear this rubbish bin come wheeling up the right of way, past our house, up onto the road for the morning pickup. The problem was that our neighbour, God bless him, would always seem to do this after 11 o'clock at night. And we never figured out why. But the other problem was the right of way, the driveway was right beside the windows of the bedrooms. And the boys would have just gotten to sleep a while ago, and we're going, oh no, here comes our neighbour again with this big clunky, noisy, wheelbarrow-like rubbish bin, which makes all the noise in the world when it clunks along the driveway at 11 o'clock at night. And we thought about, do we say something to him? He probably doesn't get it. Do we speak to him about this? But we decided not to, because he was a really, really good neighbour, him and his wife. And it was one of those things we just said, look, let's just wear it, because, it's just going to produce problem that we don't really need. And he's a good neighbour. And we were a bit annoyed, but, we just had to shut our lips and hold our tongue. And that's what the writer to Proverbs is saying here. There are times in life you just need to wear things. It's actually the wisest thing to do. And honestly, looking to TikTok posts and Facebook posts and listening to talkback radio, I think as a whole, our country needs to get a whole lot better at shutting our lips at times. The second thing the writer to Proverbs says, the second situation when you should lock those things down, are when you hear or when you wish to start gossip about someone else. Because words can crush another person's heart, but they can also break the connections between people. Proverbs 16:28, a perverse person stirs up conflict, and gossip separates close friends. And we've all seen this, haven't we? A while ago, I heard a news story from England. It was the story of a young girl, a teenage girl, a student, who reported an accusation she had against a teacher. And she said this teacher had done some terrible things. Not anything sexual or physical towards her, but he had said things which really offended her religious sensitivities. And it riled up others in her community, and they lay in wait for this teacher, and they bashed him. They beat him up. And he actually ended up dying. And the girl later said, sorry, I just made that story up. He never said those things that I said he did. Wow. Power. The power to heal or power to destroy is in the lips. And the writer here says it is a sick kind of a person, a perverse, twisted person who actually wants to create division and conflict between people. And those moments when we are tempted, for whatever reason, to do that, the writer says, shut those lips tight. But he doesn't just give that advice when there is the spread of lies. He also says it about the spread of truth. Because sometimes, he says, it is time to just stop talking about an issue. Proverbs 17:9. Whoever would foster love covers over an offense, but whoever repeats a matter separates close friends. We need to be very careful about not passing on gossip and lies, but truth can also be really dangerous. Just because something is true does not mean it can't bring harm. In our recent quiz night at church here, which was a great night, had an awesome time, there was a question about that famous movie line, truth, you can't handle the truth. And I've got to say, yep, at times I can't handle the truth. There are times in my life where I'm not in a good place to receive it. I told a story a while ago about a morning when I was cutting myself shaving, and I ended up shaving and I had these cuts all over my face. So what do? Well, you get the little bits of tissue paper or toilet paper and you stick them on your bits to stop the bleeding. And then you take them off before you go out the door. Only on this morning, I forgot to take them off. And I went to work with these little white bits of tissue paper stuck over my face. And I saw my workmate. And we chatted. How was your weekend? It was really good. How was yours? Fine. Cool. Okay. And he never said anything. And I did not know that I had these little bits of toilet paper on my face until I went to the bathroom and looked in the mirror and saw them there. And I thought, oh no. That probably would have been a moment where honesty would have been the right thing to do from my workmate. But if I've just gone to the hairdresser and had a really bad haircut, and there's nothing I can do about it for the next 5 weeks, probably saying, cool haircut, bro, would be the best thing to do, even though it may not quite be the truth. If two friends have gone through a rough patch in their history, then you bringing it up all the time is not going to help that, unless there is healing that can come through that. And the New Testament gives a guide about speaking truth, which is so helpful. Ephesians 4:15. Speak the truth in love. Is it truthful? Tick. Good. But then, is it loving? Will it be the best thing for this person? That is the next question to ask. Just because something is true, it doesn't mean you need to speak it if it is not also loving. So when might you speak it? Well, Proverbs gives an answer there. When the timing is right. When it's not right, then that too is a time to close your lips. Love, yes, it dictates what we say, but it also influences when we say things. Speaking the truth in love is also an issue of timing. Sometimes people are just not in a good place to hear things. And you need to ask the question, when will the listener listen well? If there is truth that someone needs to hear, then if you are loving, you will wish this person to receive it well, to listen well. And love means that you will have the chat only when he or she has the headspace or the calmness or the lack of busyness to hear it well and to lead to a good outcome. Proverbs 15:23. A person finds joy in giving an apt reply. How good is a timely word? And the issue of timing is not just applying to the listener, it also applies to the talker as well. When will the talker talk well? If you are the one talking, are you in control of your emotions? Can you talk calmly? Can you talk reasonably? Can you talk and listen at the same time? Can you speak in such a way that you lead to creation instead of uncreation? So Proverbs speaks about the power of words, but it's not just the words which are said, but the way in which they are said. Think about the number of ways that you could say the phrase, "There's the door." You know, if you were in a maze or in a building, you couldn't find the way out, and you suddenly find the door, you might say, "Oh, there's the door," in relief. If you're walking through a building and there's a door in a weird place, you might say, "There's the door," in surprise. If you're arguing and angry with someone and they're inside your house or your office, you might say to them, "There's the door," because you want them to leave. The same three words, said in very different ways, convey very different meanings. And studies have found that nearly 40% of a person's attitude is conveyed vocally through tone and inflection rather than the words themselves that are used. The tone and the inflection carry 40% of the meaning. And we all know that, don't we? And so the writer of Proverbs says, 15 verse 1, a gentle answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger. The way we say things, the way we respond to people, the tone and the inflection is super, super important. So, the power of words. How are you doing with the power of words? Yesterday I took a wedding for a couple, and I was standing in front of them as the officiating pastor, I guess. And knowing that I was going to be preaching this message this morning, I was just listening to them as they shared words towards each other of love, of commitment, of devotion, of tenderness, and of resolve. And I thought to myself, words really are powerful things. Just a quote to finish from Charles Capps, a pastor. Words are the most powerful things in the universe. Words are containers. They contain faith or fear, and they produce after their kind. I wonder if perhaps you just need to spend 30 seconds in quietness before the Lord, saying, God, what do you want to say to me about the way that I am using my words, the way that I'm opening or closing my lips, the way that my inner world, when I'm bumped, produces things. May God do business with you as you wait on him. Lord bless you until we meet again. Bye for now.